The Aftermath of Us, Chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Storm. 3 months had passed since Sarah's reappearance in her life, and Alara Vance was finally beginning to feel like herself again. The support group had become a lifeline, a circle of women who understood the unique challenges of rebuilding a life from scratch. She'd even started dating herself again, taking Leo to museums, trying new recipes, rediscovering the woman she'd been before Mark, before the suffocating weight of trying to hold together a relationship that was already broken. The morning started like any other. Leo was particularly chatty over breakfast, his vocabulary expanding daily in ways that both amazed and terrified her. At 18 months, he was becoming his own little person, with opinions and preferences that sometimes clashed spectacularly with her carefully planned schedule. She'd learned to roll with these moments, finding joy in his fierce independence even when it meant arriving at daycare with mismatched socks and yogurt in his hair. "Mama, bird!" Leo pointed excitedly out the window at a sparrow perched on their fire escape. His face lit up with the kind of pure wonder that made her heart ache with love. "Yes, baby, that's a bird," she said, kissing the top of his curly head. "Can you say sparrow?" "Spawo," he attempted, clapping his hands with delight at his own cleverness. These were the moments that made everything worth it. The sleepless nights, the financial stress, the bone-deep exhaustion. Leo's laughter was her anchor, his unconditional love, the fuel that kept her moving forward. The call came at 2:47 p.m., just as she was finishing the lunch rush at the coffee shop. Her manager, Janet, handed her the phone with a concerned expression. "It's Leo's daycare," she said quietly. Alara's blood turned to ice. "Hello? Ms. Vance, this is Rebecca from Sunshine Daycare. Leo had a little accident on the playground. He's okay, but we think you should come pick him up. He might need to see a doctor." The world tilted sideways. What kind of accident? Is he hurt? He fell from the climbing structure. He's conscious and alert, but he's favoring his left arm, and we want to be safe. Alara was already untying her apron, her hands shaking. I'm coming right now." The drive to the daycare felt like an eternity. Every red light a personal affront, every slow driver an obstacle between her and her son. Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each more terrifying than the last. What if his arm was broken? What if there was internal damage they couldn't see? What if she couldn't afford the medical bills? She found Leo sitting in the director's office, tears dried on his cheeks but his eyes bright and alert. His left arm was cradled against his chest, and he reached for her with his right the moment she walked in. "Mama! Owie!" he said, his voice small but not panicked. "I know, baby. Mama's here." She scooped him up carefully, her heart breaking at his small whimper of pain. "We're going to make it all better." The emergency room was a nightmare of waiting and worry. Leo was brave through the x-rays, charmed the nurses with his attempts at conversation, and only cried when they had to manipulate his arm for the images. The diagnosis was a relief and a burden all at once, a hairline fracture in his radius. Not serious, but requiring a cast for 6 weeks. "He'll be fine," the doctor assured her, a kind woman with graying hair and gentle hands. "Kids this age heal remarkably fast. The cast will come off before you know it." But as Alara sat in the billing office afterward, staring at the estimate for the emergency room visit, x-rays, and orthopedic follow-up, the relief evaporated. Even with her basic insurance, the out-of-pocket costs would wipe out the small emergency fund she'd been building. The money she'd been saving for Leo's birthday, for new clothes as he outgrew everything, for the security deposit on a better apartment, all of it would go to this one afternoon. The drive home was silent except for Leo's occasional babbling to his new purple cast, which he'd decided was pretty. Alara fought back tears, not wanting to upset him, but the weight of their situation pressed down on her like a physical force. Just when she'd started to believe she could handle this, life had reminded her how precarious their stability really was. That evening, after Leo was asleep, she sat at her kitchen table with a calculator and a stack of bills. No matter how she rearranged the numbers, they didn't add up. She would have to ask for extra shifts, maybe pick up a weekend job. The thought of spending even less time with Leo made her chest tight with guilt and exhaustion. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "How's our little warrior doing?" Alara stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, "He's okay. Cast for 6 weeks. We're managing." The response came quickly. "I'm bringing dinner tomorrow." No arguments. Despite everything, Alara smiled. Maybe she couldn't control the storms that life threw at them, but she was learning that she didn't have to weather them alone. Chapter 5. An Unexpected Encounter. 2 weeks later, Alara was discovering that a toddler with a cast was like a tiny determined wrecking ball. Leo had adapted to his purple accessory with typical toddler resilience, using it as both a weapon and a conversation starter. He'd learned to say "broken" with dramatic flair, often accompanied by an exaggerated sad face that melted the hearts of every adult within a 50-foot radius. The orthopedic follow-up appointment was scheduled for a Thursday morning, which meant Alara had to take time off work, time she couldn't afford to lose, but Leo's health came first. Always. The medical building was one of those sterile, intimidating places that made her feel small and out of place, all marble floors and expensive-looking art. She was juggling Leo, his diaper bag, and the paperwork when disaster struck. Leo, fascinated by the fish tank in the waiting room, made a sudden lunge toward it. Alara grabbed for him, but the diaper bag slipped from her shoulder, spilling its contents across the pristine floor. Diapers, snacks, toys, and, mortifyingly, a handful of tampons scattered in every direction. "Oh God," she muttered, dropping to her knees to gather everything while trying to keep Leo from diving headfirst into the fish tank. "Here, let me help." The voice was warm, with just a hint of an accent she couldn't place. Alara looked up to see a man crouched beside her, efficiently gathering Leo's scattered toys. He was probably in his early 30s, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his fingers through it, and kind brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He was wearing scrubs, navy blue with a stethoscope draped around his neck. "Thank you," she said, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I'm usually more coordinated than this." "Single parent?" he asked with a knowing smile, handing her a stuffed elephant that had somehow ended up under a chair. "Is it that obvious?" The 1,000-yard stare and the ability to catch a flying toddler while simultaneously preventing a diaper bag explosion? Dead giveaway. He stood and offered her a hand up. "I'm Dr. Marcus Chen, but most people call me Marcus. Alara Vance, and this escape artist is Leo." She accepted his help, trying not to notice how warm his hand was or how his smile made something flutter in her chest. Leo, meanwhile, had discovered that Marcus was wearing sneakers with cartoon dinosaurs on them. Clearly a man of excellent taste in a toddler's opinion. "Dino!" Leo announced, pointing at Marcus's feet with his good hand. "That's right! Do you like dinosaurs?" Marcus crouched down to Leo's level, his voice taking on that special tone adults used with children. Not condescending, but genuinely interested. "Roar!" Leo demonstrated his best dinosaur impression, which sounded more like a kitten with a cold, but was delivered with complete conviction. Marcus laughed, a rich sound that made Alara's stomach do something complicated. "That's a very good T-Rex. I bet you know lots about dinosaurs." "He's obsessed," Alara said, finally getting the diaper bag reorganized. "Everything is either a dinosaur or a truck, sometimes both." "Smart kid. Dinosaurs are excellent." Marcus stood, but kept his attention on Leo. "Is that a special cast? It's a very cool color." "Purple," Leo announced proudly. "Broken. I can see that. You must be very brave." Alara felt something warm unfurl in her chest as she watched Marcus interact with her son. Most people were polite to Leo, but Marcus seemed genuinely engaged, treating him like a person rather than an accessory to her. "Are you here for the follow-up?" Marcus asked, turning back to Alara. "Yes, with Dr. Patterson. Leo fell at daycare a couple weeks ago." "Dr. Patterson is great. Leo's in good hands." Marcus glanced at his watch. "I should get going. I'm already late for rounds, but it was really nice meeting you both." He started to walk away, then turned back. This might be completely inappropriate, and please feel free to tell me to mind my own business, but there's a children's museum exhibit about dinosaurs opening this weekend. If Leo likes dinosaurs as much as he seems to, he might enjoy it. Alara felt her heart skip. That sounds really nice. Would you maybe want to go? Together, I mean. With Leo, obviously. Marcus looked suddenly uncertain, like a teenager asking someone to prom. I realize this is weird. We just met, and I'm probably breaking about 17 professional boundaries by asking, "Are you asking me on a date?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, and she immediately wanted to take them back. Too direct, too forward, too... "Yes," Marcus said simply. "I am, if that's okay." Alara stared at him, her mind racing. She hadn't been on a date since Mark, hadn't even thought about dating, really. The idea of trusting someone new, of letting someone into the carefully constructed life she'd built for herself and Leo, was terrifying. But Marcus was looking at her with such hopeful uncertainty, and Leo was still chattering about dinosaurs, and something inside her, something that had been dormant for months, stirred to life. "Okay," she heard herself say. "Yes, we'd like that." Marcus's smile was radiant. "Really? Great, amazing. He pulled out his phone. "Can I get your number? I'll text you the details." As they exchanged information, Alara felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to jump into unknown waters. It was terrifying and exhilarating, and completely insane. "Alara Vance?" a nurse called from the doorway. "That's us," Alara said, scooping up Leo. "I'll text you," Marcus said, backing toward the elevator. "And Leo? Keep being awesome." "Bye-bye, Dino Doctor," Leo waved enthusiastically with his cast. As they walked into the examination room, Alara's mind was spinning. A date. She was going on a date. With a doctor who wore dinosaur sneakers and made her son laugh. The thought should have terrified her, but instead, for the first time in months, she felt something that might have been excitement. Maybe, just maybe, she was ready to start writing a new chapter of her story.